Hey guys, this is Team Vox again, and today we have the awesomeness that is Vic Mignogna.
The awesomeness. Wow. I'm
Yeah.
honored.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Not too shabby.
Thanks for having me on your little playtime.
Yeah, and well, thanks for coming on. I mean,
Absolutely.
all right, so we'll get into things right about now. Okay, so when you started off, in your voice acting career, all right, you started off as an actor first, right?
Yeah, I've been acting and doing stage work and stuff like that since I was very young. Very young. Started out doing, little church plays and then school plays and then community theater. And I took acting classes and would get involved in like drama camps. They were like summer camps, only they centered around drama and theater. And it wasn't until about 12 years ago that a friend of mine in Houston suggested that I go and audition for this place in town that dubbed Japanese animation into English, ADV films, and I had no idea they even existed. But I thought, wow, that sounds like fun. So I went and auditioned, and I got cast. And then just, thanks be to God, I just kept getting cast. And I started working with ADV on a regular basis. Then I started working with Funimation in Dallas. Then I started working with studios in Los Angeles. So it's really been a quite unexpected career. It came out of nowhere. The door just opened, and I ignorantly just stepped into the room, and it really turned out to be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, well, ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, the first role that you got in voice acting, what was that role?
It was Vega in Street Fighter 2.
Oh.
Yes, that was the first character I ever played. And I remember, listening to it back and thinking, oh, that's horrible. I'm horrible at this. It would be interesting to go back now, and listen to some early things.
I thought you were pretty good.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so, there are a lot of steps when you're becoming an actor to break through. Let's start off with training. Where did you get your training?
Well, I would probably have to say that the best training you can get is just flat out experience. In many, many cases, especially in the areas of art, you learn by doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You learn by actually getting dirty, trying this, experiencing it firsthand. That's the way that you learn a lot of artistic crafts. It's certainly beneficial to take classes and study things, but when it comes to the arts and creative arts, I think having a basic talent, kind of a natural gift for something, is kind of the foundation of it all. And so I would say the more you do it, the more you understand it, the more comfortable you become at it.
So, okay. And another thing that people are very interested in is making the first move and getting an agent. Now, what can you tell us about your agent?
I'm a bit of a paradox here when it comes to this.
Really?
I started my career in Texas.
Okay.
Texas is what we like to call a right-to-work state, which means you don't have to be in a union or have an agent. If you audition for something and you get cast, you're in. So a lot of people in Dallas that do anime voice work and game stuff do not have agents, or not in a union. But when you start talking about Los Angeles is all about SAG and agents. And when you start talking about the bigger mainstream media productions, like your Toy Story and your Wall-E and Shrek and those big kind of things, Prelay, Simpsons and Family Guy, those things are all done through agencies. They're all union productions, and you won't even know that auditions for those things are taking place unless you have an agent, and and your agent notifies you about auditions for these things. I've been very, very blessed. I don't have an agent. I still don't have an agent.
Really?
I've never had an agent. All of the opportunities that have come to me came to me directly from the companies that made the shows or games. And I've been out in Los Angeles for the last year, and it's kind of funny. Some of my friends out there, Liam and Yuri and Johnny Bosch and friends in this business are like, "Oh my gosh, dude, what? You don't have an agent? What? Why don't you have an agent? You could be like getting all this, doing all these bigger things." I've just been so busy. I've been able to do things that I love to do, and recording anime and video games in LA, and recording anime in Dallas, and doing convention appearances has kept me very busy. So I haven't yet gotten one, but if I'm going to take it to the next level, that's something in Los Angeles. That's something that I would need to do, is get an agent.
Oh, wow. I mean, I didn't expect you to not have an agent.
Yeah, most of the people that I work with don't even realize that I don't have an agent.
Really?
And even for like convention appearances and stuff, a lot of the LA people have somebody who quote unquote represents them. And if you're starting a con and you want to have somebody at your convention, you contact their manager or their representative, and they work out all the deals and details and everything. I just do it myself. I kind of like to be hands-on with my career and elements of my work.
Mm-hmm. That's really fascinating. I mean, wow. Okay, so another emphasis is on social networking. What do you have to say about that?
It's funny you should say that, because Travis Willingham and Laura Bailey and I were talking about that just the other day. We were talking about how some actors build relationships with studios, directors, production companies. They get an opportunity to do something, they do a good job with it, and they just keep getting called back to work for those companies.
Right.
They may not have an agent, they may not have representation, but they've built relationships, and that's how their career sustains itself. That's me. However, as I said before, if I want to take it to the next level, if any of you out there listening want to take it to the next level where you're like, I want the big stuff, I want a guest spot on this prelay series or in this big name animated feature, well then the networking will not do that for you. The social networking, becoming friends with people, that won't work. That's where it becomes about having an agent, mm-hmm. and an agent will get you auditions for those big things that you otherwise would not be able to get for yourself.
I see. Okay, so, say that you're having a full day of recording at the studio. Can you describe your day for us? Well,
usually people don't do full days, okay, because your voice just won't last. If you're constantly doing a character, especially if the character requires like any fighting or loud yelling or emotional things, you can only do that for so long, and then your voice just starts to tire out. And after a while, you don't even sound like you anymore. You don't sound like the character. So in general, people do at the most maybe like 4-hour sessions, at the most, and then you're tired. However, there's an asterisk to this. Those of us who work with companies out of town, for instance, we're recording Full Metal Brotherhood right now. Well, obviously there's a lot of recording to do for Brotherhood. I mean, Ed's got a lot of lines. I don't live in Dallas, mm-hmm. So in order for me to buy a ticket and fly from LA to Dallas, we need to do as much of that recording as possible all at the same time. So when people like Troy Baker or Travis Willingham or Laura Bailey or me come from another city into Dallas to record, it's like 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day. You know, we may do 6 hours of Full Metal and 2 hours of Kenichi. And then the next day, it's 4 hours of Soul Eater and another 3 hours of Full Metal, and like back to back to back, because they want to, you know, they want to line you up and get as much work done when you come into town as possible. So in those situations, they have to kind of put the 4-hour maximum idea out the window and just go as long as your voice can possibly hold up.
Wow. So, I mean, has there been a time where your voice just completely gave out on you?
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. Oh my gosh. In fact, when we were doing the first Full Metal series, we would get to the end of a day, and I would go back to my hotel, and I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be shot for tomorrow. I'm going to sound like crap tomorrow. And I would go to bed and just pray, and I would wake up the next morning and thank God, you know, my voice was back after a good night's rest. But sometimes if you push it too hard, you cross that imaginary line. And when you wake up the next day, it isn't back yet. Your voice isn't back to full capacity yet. So sometimes depending on the character, like if I'm doing some sort of low, deep character, well, that's great in the morning because your voice isn't warmed up. But if you're going to do like a Phi or an Edward kind of thing where it's a little higher, that is easier later in the day once your voice warms up. So like some characters you could do forever. Like Phi from Tsubasa he's so soft spoken and he's just so kind all the time, and he never gets upset, he never gets, you know, put off, and that kind of thing you could do forever.